All right, once again, it is on. It's on again. Ding, ding, ding. Hello, everyone. This is Troy Vaughn, also known as Trey Amazing, your favorite part-time stripper, part-time pastor, but full-time dating commentator. I am here again. This is Ringside's Corner Confession, and I am here with a very, very special guest. We have Miss Katrina Fuqua. Am I saying it correctly?
Correct.
Now, you and I have already spoken. I know your title.
Yes.
You know your title.
Yes.
Everybody knows your title. But for the people out there watching right now, for all my subscribers, tell everyone who you are and what your specific title is.
So, I am, like he said, Katrina Fuqua. I've been the brand manager for Magic City for 10 years now. Well, going on 11. I think this year is the 11th year. So, I've been there for 11 years, and it's been a whirlwind. Yes, to say the least.
All right. So, you know, anybody, unless you've been living under a rock, everybody knows Magic City. I had to do just a brief, just a Google search as far as I know. Magic City was founded in 1985.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So that was a great year. I think 1985. I was 6 years old when Magic City. It was founded by Michael Magic
Barney.
Barney.
Magic Barney.
And over the years, I mean, originally I'm from Memphis.
Okay.
And so even people living in Memphis.
I'm from Knoxville, so.
Oh, okay, Tennessee connection.
Yep, Tennessee, same.
I know you. See, I knew you were cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to live in Atlanta to know about the legacy and impact of Magic City. I mean, honestly, Atlanta really has been dubbed by many as a strip club capital. But that being said, I mean, Magic City is really upper echelon. It is at the very top, if not the top.
There you go, the top.
It is the top.
Yes.
And you know, I think it goes without saying there have been many strip clubs that have been founded that, you know, have been influenced by Magic City.
And they're gone.
And they're gone. I mean, Magic City, I mean, being the fact that it's been around since 1985, it has been around. It has survived arson. It survived criminal investigation. I know the founder was arrested. And
He served time in jail. Yeah, his story is, everybody knows his story.
Right. I mean, his story is out there.
And it stayed afloat while his brother-in-law kept it afloat while he was in prison. So.
And he did a great job.
He did.
You know, we've had a lot of famous dancers come out of Magic City. Some of the dancers have gone on and done reality TV.
Yes.
You know,
Beyond the Pole is pretty much a Magic City show.
Indeed.
Because pretty much, I think there's only 2 dancers on there are not Magic City. The rest.
I'm still trying to keep up with that show myself.
Yes.
But you know, enough for my introduction. You know, again, Magic City has a reputation that precedes itself. But you being there, you've been there for 10 years. What do you think has been, you know, the reason for Magic City's great impact? I mean, Magic City is a strip club. Atlanta is filled with strip clubs. But what do you think separates Magic City from the other strip clubs?
I think what separates Magic City from the other strip clubs is me.
Okay.
Because again, what other strip club you know that has a brand manager? Mm-hmm. I don't know of any. And so I think the difference is I don't look at it as a strip club. I look at it as an international brand. So once you frame it that way, it's not just a little strip club that sits in the hood across from the bus station. It's an international brand that's recognized all over the world. So there aren't any other strip clubs that I know of that you could mention in another country and they would know what you're talking about besides Magic City.
Indeed. I mean, again, Magic City has been referenced in many rap songs.
On the radio now, I think every song now has Magic City in it somewhere, just somewhere.
I mean, it does. I mean, that's just the impact of Magic City. And you know, reading the description on the way over here, I've only been to Magic City a few times, but it is true. You can go to Magic City and to your left be a low-level thief, and to your right be a millionaire. And
your grandmama might be over there.
And your favorite pastor may be on the other side.
Right. So, let's not even start about the pastors because I took some deacon board one time and they just showed. I mean, to the point where security was like, "Hey, who they with?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're Mike." They showed
I mean, it's some, it's some pastors.
Oh,
Some
they had
deacons,
a good time, honey.
you know,
they had a good time.
They were making it rain with the church.
Yes, honey, that was an experience. Yeah, and it was literally a deacon board. There was a whole bunch of them that came in town for a conference.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, I'm not surprised. I mean, really quickly, I got to tell my own funny story. The first time I attended Magic City, my freshman year in college, coming down here, my freshman year was 97. 1998 was my first time experiencing Freak Nick.
Oh.
Now,
I've been to all, well, not all of them, but I was here for the originals.
Look, well, for me, 1998 Freak Nick was dope, outstanding. But to hear everyone else say it, they said it was the weakest one. They said,
by then it had fell off. Like I was here when it was in the 80s.
And see, for me,
yes.
When you are 18 years old and that's your first Freaknik, it was everything to me.
Oh yeah, we're like looking back like that was not fun. Like yeah, it completely changed from when I started going to Freaknik. Honestly, when I lived in Knoxville in high school, we would drive down here for Freaknik. So I started going to Freaknik like late 80s. Then I moved here in 89 to go to college, and so of course I was here for every Freaknik up until 92.
Well, for me, the first time, I mean, being 18 years old, going to Magic City, just like the T-Pain song, fell in love with a stripper. I legitimately fell in love.
Literally fell in love with a stripper.
Literally fell in love with one of the strippers. I still remember her name to this day. Let me tell you something.
What was her name?
I believe her name was Alexis.
All right, okay. Was that Alexis Carr?
I don't know. I remember thoroughly. She was light skinned, long black hair, and had on a red bikini.
And it was beautiful.
She was beautiful.
The most beautiful thing you ever seen.
Let me tell you something. I was so sprung just from a lap dance. I came back the next night with a 4-page letter declaring my love.
No, sir. Not a letter.
I went back to my dorm room. Wrote a 4-page.
And that's a new one.
I mean, we're talking about this. Ladies, for all the millennials and the zillennials, this was back when people were writing letters.
Letters, right? Before we had stuff to write on.
Yeah, there was none of that.
There was no phones. Yes.
This was a pen and paper. Came
wow,
back
and a 4-page one.
4-page. Gave it to the bouncer. Said, "Can you make sure Alexis gets this letter?" Needless to say, I never heard.
Yeah, needless to say, yeah. Alexis probably was like, "Oh my god."
Unless she probably just threw it in the pile with the rest of them.
And it's so funny you said it because Bow Wow literally, like, I think it was last week. He said he was going to Magic City to get some food. This is Bow Wow posting this. He said I went to Magic City to get some food, and he saw a guy sitting in the middle, what we call the H, which is kind of like right there at the stage. And if you go on social media, if you just put Bow Wow Magic City, it'll probably come up. But literally, there's a guy, and he looks like you said, probably just like you did, and he's just in amazement. He's just sitting there like. And he's telling his friends like, because it was a girl doing the trick up on the pole, and he was just looking like, are you seeing this? Like, so Bow Wow just pulled the boy all over the shade room and everything. So, but yeah, we still have those. Those.
I mean, it's definitely experience when especially it's obvious when you meet people who have never been to a strip club. That's their first time. I think that I've visited other strip clubs before. Magic City, I think the last time I visited, I was with a guest and I had to explain to them like it was like walking into a rap video. That's like
exactly what it is.
Sensory overload.
Yes, I mean, because there's so much. There's many moving parts.
A lot of things going on.
Yeah, at one time. Like it's like literally, you walk in, you can see there's another thing people don't realize. The club is really kind of small, so you literally can walk in the front door and see the entire club. I mean, the entire club is right there at the front door. You can see from the front wall to the back wall to the back wall to the bar. That's the whole club. People are like, oh, we have private. We don't have private areas. The whole club is what the club is.
For me, I think the last time I was there, I actually had to walk out. I got injured because somebody, one of the balls was making it rain with crisp. I do mean crisp dollar bills, and it was raining. I think one of those dollar bills, the sharp edges hit my cornea, and I was like, oh my god.
Now that's different.
Yeah, that's different.
That's the first.
But you know what? The funny thing is, I've heard people say, even if strip clubs in your thing, the food is actually good. I've heard people actually rave about the wings.
I have booked, because I booked the anything that has to do with the media. I've booked 5 shoots that were just about food.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard an ex of mine talk about how just the wings and the salad is good. Yeah. I'm like, who talks about that? I've never heard people say.
Hey, we're on DoorDash.
Yeah, on DoorDash.
Yeah, you can order Magic City wings on DoorDash.
Everybody, if you're
At
out there,
the MC Kitchen, follow them on Instagram at the MC Kitchen.
if you need some wings or
And
a
I'm
good
telling you
burger,
how to get them. I'll tell you how to get them. Then
how
we
you
have
get
the
'em?
Lou Will wings, which everybody talks about because Lou Will had them, whatever. But to me, the best ones are lemon pepper mild mix.
All right.
So you
now.
have lemon pepper and mild, or you can put hot. I'm not really a hot person, but if you like a little spice, the lemon pepper and hot together, life changing.
So for someone like, okay, let me bust out a scenario. For someone, if you have a friend or relatives coming to Atlanta and they want to experience Magic City, never been to a strip club, first time, whatever, what would you say to someone you know, or just anybody out there, any of the subscribers who may be curious about coming to Atlanta and going to Magic City? What would you say, and how would you prepare somebody for their first Magic City experience?
I've actually had to do that, so I can give you real life scenarios because I've done it a couple times. But I'm just gonna give you an example of I got a phone call. Some guys were here. They worked for Dre Beats. They were really big executive at Dre Beats, and they wanted to come to Magic City. They're here from California on a business trip, and it was like 4 or 5 of them. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna escort them myself and just bring them. So when we first get there, we meet. They're cool, whatever. So I sit them at a table, which I know is like one of the prime tables because the best tables, just to let you know, are across the stage. The ones that sit right on the stage, those are the best ones. And the best corner is the one that's far to your, all the way to your right in the back because you can see pretty much the whole club and the whole stage. Anyhow, had them sitting at the tables at the stage, and I said, hey, just let you guys know before it starts happening, just you can be prepared. I said, when they start doing the tricks up on the thing, your mouth is going to just be wide open. And they're like, oh my God, like I'm so excited, looking forward to it. So I had walked away to do something, and I can't remember, but one of the girls, because we have like actual teams of dancers that have like routines that they do. So one of the teams was up there doing a routine. And I already knew they were like one of our pretty good, teams. So I made my way back to them, to the guys, and literally when I walked up to the table, this is all you saw.
Just
like in a row.
Just mouths open.
Keep in mind now, we have at Magic City we have poles on the ceiling.
Yep, sure do.
So you're looking at somebody on the ceiling that's swinging from the ceiling sometimes with another person, like at the circus, and they're swinging that person from that top one, and they're swinging them from pole to pole. There's a pole on each side.
It's like a whole performance.
Like that's a whole circus Soleil. It's a whole thing. So literally, that's what they were. They were like, all 5 of them at the same time were like. Like I told you, they were like, this one guy, he said, I've been to strip clubs, every strip club that you can imagine. I've been over the world at strip clubs. He said, I've never experienced anything like this before. He was like, it's something, like he said, it's like you're at the circus with really hot chicks that are naked. This is, how much better does it get? And they're beautiful on top of that. Yes. So, yeah. So that's pretty much it's an experience. Well, I tell people, it's called magic for a reason. And when you leave, you're like, oh, that's why it's called Magic City, because it's magical. It is truly, truly magical.
So other side of the coin, many, many strip clubs here in Atlanta. So if you have a young lady who is interested in taking that step, wants to dance, wants to be a stripper, she has her choice, she has her options. I mean, let's face it. I mean,
there's plenty of clubs to work at.
Why should she choose a Magic City versus, an Onyx or a Pleasers or a Blue Flame or a Strokers or, some of the other, notable strip clubs? Why should a woman choose Magic City versus
the other clubs? The reason why she would choose Magic City is the owner. Because he's like literally like our dad. Like he's even like my dad. So I've never known like a person that is in that particular position that has such a heart of gold that there's not too many like him. Like he's one of a kind, and people don't know that about him because he stays very low key. He doesn't like people knowing who he is. He doesn't like to be in the limelight. He likes to live the life that he lives. But when I say, I tell you, the dancers are like his kids. Like they come to him with their personal problems, that he talks to them. So it's like and it's a family situation. So when you work there, you feel like you're in a family because 2 of his kids work there too as well. So it is literally a family. It's a family business. So it's not run by a corporation. It's not run by, some asshole that's, trying to sleep with all the girls. None of that. Like it's ran by, of course the staff, but the man that's, the brand behind it, he is truly an amazing person. So that's what makes it different. He's not disrespectful. Like I said, he's very, very knowledgeable, very smart. But he treats you like a person. He doesn't treat dancers like dancers. He treats them like they're his daughters. So a lot of them refer to him as Daddy Magic.
So
and
that
had nothing to do with like that's my dad. No, not like that. I'm like literally that's my daddy.
It's not like, what people would see, and they may compare it to like a players club. So like,
right, not
so
like
he's
that.
not Dollar Bill.
He's definitely not Dollar Bill. Not by
Right.
no means. Like I said, he's one of a kind. Like I said, and for him to be in the position that he's in, he could be kind of like an asshole, but he's not. He's really just a great guy.
I mean, because I referenced that movie for a reason, because I know even back then in '97, the movie Players Club. I mean, it was about a woman named Diamond being a stripper in a club called Players Club.
We had a diamond.
Right. And a lot of, there were some people that speculated was, the Players Club was supposed to be, their version of Magic City. Is Magic City like the Players Club? Did you ever hear anything like that? Or
I think it was probably maybe loosely, but I mean, nobody knows the inner workings. There's nothing about Magic. Like I said, what happens in Magic stays in Magic. So he's not one that like I said, he doesn't allow a lot of stuff that happens in there to get outside of there. So somebody can speculate that may be how he is, but until you meet him and know him, you wouldn't know.
Okay, square biz. So let's change gears for a second. This is Corner Confessions. We talk a lot about issues pertaining to singlehood, dating, marriage, divorce, sex, kink, and fetish. As it pertains to dating, I mean, you can't paint all women with the same brush. You're gonna have some women who are more conservative, some who are more liberal when it comes to their relationship, their significant other attending strip clubs.
Right.
And I know over the years, of course, you've seen a lot of people hold their bachelor parties and still do.
Bachelorette.
Yeah, bachelorette parties. I mean, because again, that was something that I didn't realize until some years back that you had a lot of women.
Oh yeah.
That loved going to strip clubs.
And I guess back in the day, women had to be escorted by a man. So could we still get those phone calls? You had to be escorted by a man? No, because sometimes we can have just as many women in the club as we have as men, and they're spending money like the men are.
So I mean, from the years that you worked there, from stories that you've heard from women, what's your take as far as a woman who may be with a man who otherwise may be great, a provider or sweet, romantic, gentleman, the whole nine, but enjoys from time to time going to a strip club? What would you say to women who may be dealing with this currently in a relationship or even a marriage? Being with someone who from time to time they may enjoy going to strip clubs. Do you think it's a big deal? Do you think it's disrespectful? What's your take?
Well, the thing about it is, like, I'm one of those people that's kind of in the middle. So I'm 50. So I'm from a totally different generation than what you are. So how people view stripping in my era versus how they look at stripping now is completely different. Even relationships are completely different. Like in my day and time, stripping was like bottom of the barrel. You were not proud to be a stripper. You was selling behind. I mean, they were not glamorized at all. Like that was almost where like if you can't do anything else, go strip. Whereas now they're celebrities. Like they are celebrities. So it's completely different. And I don't think even men go to. A lot of times the men at Magic City aren't even going for the women per se. They're going for the atmosphere. Especially if they're doing if it's a bunch of guys. I mean, it's just a fun time. So you can't equate when you going to a strip club, that means you doing such and such, such and such. No, he's just going to a strip club with his friends to have a good time. And I always tell people, I'm like, it's almost like a nightclub that just happens to have a lot of pretty women that are naked walking around. So I mean, that's the best combination you could possibly have. But for the most part, most of those men, it's not like they're trying to get with the dancers. They're just enjoying the experience, what they're seeing. So it's not about the trying to hook up with strippers because you like going to strip clubs. I mean, if you like going to strip clubs, you just like going to strip clubs. And there's people that literally, I mean, there's people who come on a regular basis. I know people, because I worked in day shift when I used to go to the office. So my office was downstairs in the club. So when the club would open at 3, I would go upstairs and I would start talking to some of the guests that were there because, hey, where you from? Blah, 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 blah. And we have people who literally are there every week. Like, now that like to regulars. Me, now that to me is like, But at the same time, those people that are there like that, they aren't making it rain, obviously, because you can't do that from week to week. They like to come in, because it's two guys, and I don't remember their names, but every Friday they came, they would sit at the bar, they would get a couple of dances, and they would go home. Before they got after they got off from work, they would stop and then go home. So it's like I said, it depends. If your man going to a strip club is a determination of whether or not you want to be in a relationship with him, you have more issues than you think anyway. Because that should not be a detriment, unless, like I said, unless he's spending your bill money or doing something like that. Then I don't see a problem with it. I mean, my husband, when I go, sometimes we'll go as a group, and my husband goes there, and I mean, I don't have a problem with him being there. It's just like I said, to me, it's just like a club with pretty women in it. So it's not that big of a deal for me.
So over the years, coming in contact with a lot of women, who are dancers, and obviously, if you're working closely with these women, you're going to, there are going to be instances where they're going to share their personal lives.
Yes.
I'm
the mama.
Their lives with as far as relationships and dating.
I'm Mama Bear. Yeah.
Right. So over the years, I mean, what would you say in terms of how a woman who is a stripper, who is a dancer, regardless if it's Magic City or anywhere else, how that can affect relationships, how that can affect dating in terms of how people may perceive her? Because like you said, the way the stigma that may surround a woman who's a dancer, in the 80s, 90s compared to today may be a little different.
Right.
Back then, if you were a stripper, that was, for some people, that was the same thing as saying you were a prostitute.
Yeah, basically.
Right. But nowadays, not so much. I mean, not to say that mentality has gone away completely. However, it's not as pervasive.
Right.
But, as far as what you've seen, as far as women coming with relationship problems, how often are those relationship problems a result of them being a dancer?
Well, again, it goes on to, like you said, some women, if you meet the man in the strip club, that's not a good thing. Because if you're a dancer, because what's going to happen is eventually he's going to start coming to, because we've had it happen before. He starts coming, watching you at work, who you talking to, which that's too much. That's too much. That's too much. I have had dancers that have come and said it's really hard for them to maintain a relationship because guys just weren't comfortable knowing that she was a dancer. And for some of those people, it's really hard to have relationships. Where you have others. We had dancers that were married in long-term relationships that had kids, and their man had no problem with it. It was just a job for them. And like I tell people, I was like, the only difference between your job and their job is that they take their clothes off. They clock in and clock out just like you do. The difference is they have enough confidence to walk around and they're comfortable in their bodies. Like I said, which is not most people. But they have a confidence in their bodies to where they're confident to be able to be naked and not be a big deal. Because nobody's forcing them to be a dancer. Nobody's forced them to take their clothes off. Majority of those dancers, they really actually enjoy it. Like there was one dancer, she literally would just walk around with shoes and nothing on all the time. And I would be like, can you put some clothes on? And she's like, I don't like clothes. She's like, since I was a little girl, my mama said I would always walk around the house naked. So for her, being naked is not a big deal. Where the average person is like, oh, hell no, I'm not walking around as a bunch of strangers naked. That's the only difference, is that they have a mentality of, they have a confidence and obviously the body to be able to do it. Because of course, as we know, most of us regular folks don't have the body for that. So unless you have that body or that look that people want to see exposed without clothes on, then obviously that's what makes the difference. So
now, what about issues, related to safety? Because again, just to reference Players Club, you're going to have those guys like Marvin, Have you ever seen, this is where you have, like you said, the guys who are regulars. They come there, like clockwork. You can set your clock to, when they're going to come in, when they're going to leave. They're going to stay there till it's over. They're going to spend all their money, the rent money, car payments, 401k, the whole nine.
Right.
And occasionally you may have those Marvin types that may have an attachment, a very unhealthy.
Something mental going on.
Yeah, something mental going on. But some people get attached too fast, particularly when you're talking about a beautiful, attractive woman.
Somebody that they would not be able to attain on their own.
Right. Without money, this they wouldn't have a shot.
Right.
I mean, how often do you see these safety concerns?
I don't ever remember anybody having problems like that. Like I said, there was one incident where, there was actually two. There was two, but one of them actually ended up being a really tragic ending. But it had nothing to do with the club. It's just that one of our dancers, she had gotten, I guess, and she worked at the club, and her boyfriend was one of those ones that would come and watch her while she was at work. And I guess they got into some type of verbal altercation after she had left work one night, and he ended up killing her. So that's the only one that I know of that, like I said, it still didn't have anything to do with the club per se, but that's the only one I knew where something had went like completely off rails. Like, what in the world? But other than that, I mean, safety wise, nobody's really come to us like, their feel for or anything like that.
Over the years, I mean, like we talked about earlier, you develop these relationships with these dancers, and to the point where you get understanding of their personal lives. If you did have a dancer that came to you and talked about, starting a new relationship, she just met someone she really liked, she's interested in something long term, she's interested in, maybe having a family, maybe having, marriage one day, knowing some of the issues that can happen and can affect a relationship because of the still lingering stigma of being a dancer. What kind of advice would you give one of your dancers as far as, okay, look, because you're a dancer, these are some of the stereotypes you're going to have to deal with, generalizations, people judging you. You're trying to sustain a new relationship. What advice would you give a woman on how to navigate the world of strip clubs but also maintain a healthy relationship?
Well, like I said, I've also had that discussion many times too. And what I basically tell them is, first of all, be truthful from the beginning. That's not something you should try to hide, because I mean, eventually he's going to find out.
So
yeah, you have to let him know in the beginning. And is it something that you're okay with? And either it is or it isn't. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, is that going to be a deal breaker, or is it not going to be a deal breaker? Or if it does, if he says it's not a deal breaker in the beginning and gets in the middle of it's like, oh, well, I want you to stop dancing. Well, at that point in time, it's time for you to help to take care of my financial responsibilities, because that's how I make my money. It's like I said, it's a job just like any other job. So I've told them, just stay true to yourself. Don't allow anybody to talk you into anything that you don't want to do. And just be careful, because, like I said, people will, in their mind, think of you in a certain way regardless of what they say. They're still probably in the back of their mind thinking a certain way about you. But it would just take you spending time with that person to find out if that's what it is. Because if that's what it is, then that's not somebody you need to be with anyway. Okay. And like I said, and plus too, it's like I'm on one of those definitely advocate for people to say this is a pass through. This is not something you should be doing for 15, 20 years. This would be something, okay, I'm doing it for a couple of years, get my money up, and then go on to something else. Because you don't want to be in the strip world for 10 or 15 years. I mean, that's way beyond the expiration date that you should be there. So
how often do you see that happening?
A handful of times, not many. I mean, we had a couple of dancers that had passed over the 40 mark, but they still looked great. Still was on point. But
they still get that money.
Right, but at that point, it's just like, okay, you've been dancing since you was 20. Now you're 40. That's 20 years. So now, if you try to go apply for a job, what are you going to put as your experience in the business world? So that's why I tell them, always at least try to have, if you're going to dance, at least, if nothing else, try to have your own business that you're running on the side. So if you ever have to stop dancing, that can sustain you, or do something besides just dancing and that's it. Because there's a lot of girls, they do that. They have day jobs and they work dancing at night. So I'm like, so that makes sense. But don't make it to where that's the only thing that you rely on. Because I tell people, the strip world is it's make believe. It's completely make believe, because the real world does not operate like that. Nobody just throws money at your feet because you're naked. That's not realistic. I mean, that's not the world that the rest of us live in. And to them, $5,000 is just like, oh, that's just a drop in the bucket. Where the average person is like, $5,000 is a good amount of money, right? Whereas where they're in their mind, oh, that I can make that in a night, or I can make that in a couple of nights. But that's not. You're never going to find a job, very rarely, that you're going to make that much money that quickly.
Right.
So you have to also know that, like I said, if you're going to do it, stack that money and be doing something else. That way, when you are ready to step out and not dance anymore, at least you have those funds that you can go on and live your life with. But don't just stay stuck in the strip world, because it's make-believe.
Now, the fact that Magic City has been around successfully since 1985, it has pervaded, hip-hop, rap culture. It's pervaded, so much of Atlanta's culture. I mean, and it has a reputation that precedes itself. I mean,
Yes.
again, it's a king among kings as far as strip clubs here in Atlanta. I was telling my girlfriend the other day, I was like, you know what, when Hartsfield Jackson is the busiest airport. You go there and you see signage and symbolism for so many different landmarks and business. Do you think Magic City deserves signage at Hartsfield Jackson? Do you think it deserves something?
Absolutely, absolutely. 'Cause like I said, it's a staple. It's a staple. I
Indeed.
literally have had, and it's so crazy how, because again, working in the office, you see things that the average person just doesn't see. So I'm just gonna give you an example. One morning, the phone rings, answered. This lady was like, "Hey, I left my ID there last night. When can I come pick it up? I can't go on the plane without it." And so I heard her accent, so I knew she was from another country. So I was like, "Oh yeah, we found it." So somebody had turned it in. And I said, "You can just come to the office and get it, right now." So she was like, "Okay, I'm on my way." So she gets there, and it's a lady, like probably a middle-aged white lady. And so I was like, "Oh," I said, "You guys had so much fun last night that you forgot your ID." She's like, "Oh my God, it was so much fun." And she went on and on. She was like, "Yeah," she said, "because there's 10 of us that came to come here, came to America to come here." That's why you came. You came to America to come to Atlanta. She was like,
No,
"No,
come to Magic
we
City."
came to America to go to Magic City." Huh? And that happens all the time. Like one of our biggest markets is London. Like that's one of the hugest international markets that we have right now. And we had a documentary that I had done. It was a production company that came in. They did a documentary about Magic City that only aired in London. It didn't air in the United States. It aired in London. But I didn't know until the producer told me that in London, you know how in America, certain regions see certain things. It's not like that in London. The whole entire country sees what's on television. So he was like, about 3 million people probably saw this documentary. Well, whoa! Now I understand why London is so represented in our guests, because 3 million people in London saw it, and now they're flocking, trying to get
Now
to
they want
it.
to come see what
Because even the interviewers that were here in the production company, he was like, when we said we were going to Magic City, you would think that we had told somebody we had won the lottery. It's like, because they were just like, you are not going to Magic City. And I'm like, he was like, yeah, we're going to the real Magic City. So just the fact that other people in other countries are like that height is amazing to me.
And when it comes to running a successful club, not even just a successful strip club, just a successful club, a successful brand, Magic City definitely laid out a blueprint.
Oh, yes.
Big time. So, before we wrap things up, you want to give everybody out there, really quickly want to make sure, remind everybody to find the Ringside group on Facebook. Make sure you go to the search bar and just type in Ringside LLC. Request to join the private group, and either myself or one of the admins will admit you. Really quickly before we wrap up, you want to give everyone your contact info, your social media, website. How can they find you, and how can they obviously find Magic City?
Okay. Magic City on Instagram is Magic City Atlanta. And you literally sometimes have, because they do something that's called, I can't remember what the terminology of it is, but it's one of those things that Instagram does to where, you know how you autofill and it starts bringing stuff up? They have us to where the person has to type out the whole word before it pops up. So you have to type it at Magic City Atlanta. Click on there. We also have Magic City Lifestyle, which is our merchandise, our Magic City merchandise. We have hoodies and hats and jackets and jogging suits and all kind of Magic City merchandise. So that's Magic City at Magic City. What did I say? At Magic City Lifestyle. So, and then same thing on Facebook. It's just Magic City. I think it's at Magic City Gentlemen's Club on Facebook. And then my personal on Instagram is at Trina, Trina _Fuqua, Fuqua. And that's my personal Instagram. I also have a business Instagram, which is my brand. It is Look at God Lifestyle. I have faith-based designs that I designed myself. This is the very first one, and it just says Look at God, Happy, Healthy, Healed, Manifested, because this is just to show that I am overcoming cancer. I'm dealing with it right now. Have chemo next week, but I know I'm going to overcome it because God has already told me. So this was my first design, and I have 6 other designs on there as well. So that is lookatgodlifestyle.co, not .com, .co. So lookatgodlifestyle.co. And that's we can go and get my my merch.
Indeed. .co. Ms. Fuqua, thank you so much. This has been an epic and awesome interview.
Yes.
And again, I know I just kind of randomly sent you a message on Facebook, but I do want to thank you for answering. I know you didn't know me from a can of paint, but thank you so much for responding.
I always try to help. Like I said, I always try to help anybody that's trying to get their, get their thing up. I'm with it, because that's what it's all about. We're supposed to help each other out.
No, and I agree. I appreciate it, because again, Magic City has been on my radar for a while, and I knew some kind of way I was like, I do want to interview somebody from Magic City, because Magic City has a story and a legacy that needs to be told, and I think this is a very great first step. Ms. Fuqua, thank you so much. Everybody out there, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, hit that bell, get notifications, drop up some comments down below, and we will see y'all next time. Indeed.